Right now, while you're watching this video, entire towns around Birmingham are quietly dying. Not from some disaster or catastrophe, but from something far more dangerous: slow economic strangulation. By 2030, 7 towns that have stood for generations could become shadows of what they once were: empty high streets, boarded up shops, young people fleeing to cities that actually have jobs. But here's what makes this even more shocking. It's not happening because these places lack history or character. Some of these towns have been thriving for over a century. The problem is much deeper, and by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly which towns are fighting for survival and which ones have already given up. And before you think this is just doom and gloom, there's a twist. 2 towns near Birmingham have cracked the code. They've found ways to not just survive but actually grow while their neighbours struggle. The difference between the winners and losers isn't what most people think. Let's start with the harsh reality. The West Midlands is changing faster than ever before. Industries that supported entire communities for decades have vanished almost overnight. Transport links that once brought prosperity now bypass towns completely. And the young people who should be building these communities' futures are packing their bags and heading elsewhere. This isn't speculation. The data is crystal clear, and some of it will genuinely shock you. Town 1, Brownhills. Brownhills sits between Birmingham and Lichfield, and on paper, it should be doing fine. It's got decent transport links and a reasonable location, but scratch beneath the surface, and the problems become obvious quickly. The high street tells the story. Over the past 5 years, more than 30% of the shops have closed permanently. Where once there was a bustling shopping district, now there are charity shops, empty units, and discount stores. The weekly market that used to draw people from surrounding areas has shrunk to a handful of stalls, selling mostly second-hand goods. Employment opportunities have dried up dramatically. The area used to have several manufacturing plants that provided stable, well-paying jobs for local residents. Most of these have either closed completely or moved operations to cheaper locations overseas. The largest remaining employer is a distribution centre on the outskirts of town, but even that has been laying off workers due to automation. The council has tried various regeneration initiatives, but most have failed to gain momentum. A planned shopping complex was abandoned after the main investor pulled out. Efforts to attract new businesses have been largely unsuccessful because the town can't compete with the advantages offered by Birmingham, or even some of the more successful surrounding areas. Transport connectivity isn't terrible, but it's not great either. While there are bus links to Birmingham, the journey takes significantly longer than from other nearby towns. The lack of a direct train connection means that commuting to Birmingham for work is inconvenient enough to discourage many people from choosing to live in Brownhills. Perhaps most tellingly, many long-term residents are pessimistic about the town's future. In local surveys, over 60% of respondents said they would move away if they had the opportunity. Among residents under 35, that figure rises to over 80%. When the people living somewhere don't believe in its future, it becomes very difficult to reverse decline. Town 2, Aldridge. Aldridge presents a more complex case because it has some genuine advantages that should protect it from decline. It's well positioned geographically, has better transport links than many surrounding areas, and still maintains some attractive residential areas. But beneath the surface, warning signs are accumulating rapidly. The town centre has been struggling for years, and the situation has accelerated dramatically since 20. Many of the remaining businesses are struggling, and several long-established shops have announced they'll be closing within the next year. What makes Aldridge's decline particularly concerning is that it's happening despite the town having several apparent advantages. The location should be strong. It's close enough to Birmingham for commuting but far enough away to offer a different lifestyle. The transport links, while not perfect, are better than many comparable towns. Yet none of this is preventing the steady erosion of the local economy. Employment opportunities in Aldridge itself have shrunk significantly. The town used to have a diverse mix of local businesses, small manufacturing operations, and service industry. Most of the manufacturing has disappeared, and many of the local businesses have either closed or reduced their workforce. While residents can still commute to Birmingham for work, the lack of local employment options means there's less activity and spending in the town during the day. The housing market in Aldridge reflects the town's uncertain position. While property prices haven't collapsed like in some struggling areas, they've remained largely flat, while surrounding regions have seen growth. More concerning is the length of time properties stay on the market. Houses in Aldridge take significantly longer to sell than comparable properties in more successful nearby towns. Local government services have been cut back substantially. The town hall reduced its public opening hours, and several community programs have been discontinued due to budget constraints. These cuts might seem minor individually, but collectively they reduce the quality of life and the sense of community that helps make places attractive to residents. Perhaps most troubling is the lack of any clear strategy or vision for Aldridge's future. While some struggling towns have developed comprehensive regeneration plans or identified unique opportunities for growth, Aldridge seems to be simply hoping that its existing advantages will somehow halt the decline. Without proactive intervention, hope alone is rarely sufficient. Town 3, Pelsall. Pelsall represents one of the more dramatic examples of how quickly a town's fortunes can change. Just 15 years ago, it was considered a pleasant, stable community with a reasonable mix of local businesses and residential areas. Today, it's showing almost every warning sign of a town in serious trouble. The most visible indicator of Pelsall's problems is its high street. What was once a busy shopping area, serving both local residents and visitors from surrounding areas, has become a depressing collection of empty shops, discount stores, and businesses that seem to change hands every few months. The closure of the town's last bank branch in 2021 was particularly symbolic. When financial institutions abandon an area, it signals their assessment that the local economy has no future. Employment opportunities in and around Pelsall have virtually disappeared. The town used to benefit from several small manufacturing operations and a thriving local service sector. Most of the manufacturing closed down when companies relocated to areas with better transport links or lower costs. The service businesses followed as the local customer base shrank and spending power declined. Population decline in Pelsall has been particularly steep among younger residents. Census data shows that the number of residents aged 25 to 40 has fallen by more than 30% over the past decade. This isn't just young people leaving for university and not returning, it's established residents with jobs and families deciding that Pelsall no longer offers what they want for their futures. The social fabric of the community is also showing strain. Many of the clubs, societies, and community organizations that once gave Pelsall its character have either closed or are operating with much reduced membership and activity. The town's annual festival, which once drew visitors from across the region, was cancelled in 2022 and shows no signs of returning. Local businesses that remain open report significant challenges. Customer footfall has dropped substantially, making it difficult to maintain viable operations. Several shop owners mentioned that they're essentially waiting for retirement rather than actively trying to grow their businesses because they don't see a realistic path to success in the current environment. Perhaps most damaging is the psychological impact on remaining residents. In conversations with locals, a common theme emerges: a sense that Pelsall's best days are behind it, and that the current decline is likely to continue rather than reverse. This pessimism becomes self-fulfilling as people stop investing in their properties, businesses, or community activity. Town 4, Cheslyn Hay. Cheslyn Hay might not be familiar to everyone, but it's worth paying attention to because its struggles illustrate how even towns with certain natural advantages can find themselves in serious difficulty. Located between major urban centres, Cheslyn Hay should theoretically benefit from its position. Instead, it's facing challenges that threaten its viability as a community. The town's high street presents an immediately obvious problem. Over half of the retail units are either empty or occupied by businesses that seem to be struggling to survive. The mix of remaining shops, predominantly discount stores, takeaways, and charity shops, suggests a community with limited spending power and few attractions for visitors from other areas. Employment within Cheslyn Hay itself has become increasingly scarce. The town used to have a reasonable mix of local employers, including some light manufacturing and a variety of service businesses. Most of these have either closed or significantly reduced their operation. The few remaining employers tend to offer part-time or low-wage positions that don't provide the economic foundation for a thriving community. Transport links are a particular weakness for Cheslyn Hay. While the town isn't completely isolated, getting to major employment centres requires either lengthy car journeys or complicated public transport connections. This makes the town less attractive for commuters and limits opportunities for residents who don't have access to private vehicles. What makes Cheslyn Hay's situation particularly challenging is its lack of distinctive character or unique assets that could form the basis for regeneration efforts. The town doesn't have significant historical attractions, outstanding natural features, or particular cultural identity that might attract visitors or new residents. Community life has diminished noticeably. Many of the clubs, societies and regular activities that once brought residents together have either closed or significantly reduced their operation. This erosion of social connections makes the town less appealing as a place to live and reduces the sense of community that might motivate residents to work together on improvement efforts. Local businesses face a particularly difficult environment, with reduced footfall, limited spending power among remaining residents, and competition from larger centres nearby. Many struggle to maintain viable operations. Several business owners report that they're simply trying to minimize losses rather than actively growing their enterprise. The council's capacity to address these challenges is severely limited. Budget constraints mean that many problems go unaddressed, from basic maintenance issues to more ambitious development projects. The town lacks the resources to compete effectively with more successful areas for investment or residence. Perhaps most concerning is the lack of any clear pathway to improvement. Unlike some struggling communities that have identified potential opportunities or advantages they could build upon, Cheslyn Hay seems trapped in a cycle of decline with no obvious escape route. Town 5, Norton Canes. Norton Canes represents a particularly interesting case study in how external economic changes can devastate communities that seemed stable and prosperous. Until relatively recently, this was considered a solid, working-class town with reliable employment and a strong sense of community. Today it's facing an uncertain future as the economic foundations that supported it for generations have largely disappeared. The transformation of Norton Canes High Street tells the story of broader economic decline. Where there was once a diverse mix of independent shops, restaurants, and services catering to local residents and workers, now there's a landscape dominated by empty units, charity shops, and businesses that seem to change hands frequently. The closure of the town's main supermarket in 2021 was particularly devastating, as it had served as an anchor for other retail activity. Employment opportunities have collapsed dramatically. Norton Canes was historically supported by nearby industrial operations, including mining and manufacturing activities that provided stable, well-paying jobs for multiple generations of families. The closure of these operations hasn't been offset by new employment opportunities, leaving many residents either unemployed or forced to commute long distances for work. The demographic impact has been severe and rapid. Young people who might have stayed in the community to take up industrial jobs now leave for education or employment elsewhere and rarely return. The result is an aging population with reduced economic activity and increased service needs that the local economy struggles to support. The social infrastructure that once made Norton Canes a close-knit community is deteriorating. The local working men's club closed in 2020. Several community organizations have disbanded due to falling membership and financial difficulties. Even informal gathering places like pubs have closed, reducing opportunities for social interaction and community building. Local businesses face an extremely challenging environment, with reduced local spending power and competition from larger centers nearby. Many struggle to remain viable. Several long-established businesses have closed in recent years, and new enterprises are rare. The few businesses that do start up tend to be focused on basic services rather than activities that might attract visitors or create local economic activity. The psychological impact on residents is significant. Many long-term residents express frustration and sadness about changes in their community. There's a pervasive sense that Norton Canes' best days are in the past, and that the current decline is likely to continue rather than reverse. Recovery options appear limited. The town lacks obvious assets or advantages that could form the basis for economic regeneration. Its location, while not terrible, isn't sufficiently advantageous to attract new businesses or residents without other compelling reasons to choose Norton Canes over competing locations. Town 6, Burntwood. Burntwood presents a complex case because it has some characteristics that should protect it from decline, yet it's experiencing many of the warning signs that indicate a community in trouble. The town is reasonably well positioned geographically and has maintained better transport links than many comparable places, but these advantages aren't preventing significant challenges. The retail environment in Burntwood has deteriorated markedly over the past few years. The town centre, which once offered a reasonable selection of shops and services, now has a high vacancy rate and relies heavily on discount retailers and charity shops. The closure of several anchor businesses has had a ripple effect, reducing foot traffic and making it harder for remaining businesses to thrive. Employment opportunities within Burntwood itself have become increasingly limited. While the town benefits from being close enough to larger centres for commuting, local job opportunities have shrunk significantly. Many of the businesses that once provided employment for local residents have either closed or moved operations elsewhere, forcing people to travel longer distances for work. The demographic trends are concerning, though not as dramatic as in some other struggling towns. Burntwood is experiencing a gradual aging of its population as young people leave for education or employment opportunities elsewhere. While some new residents do move to the area, they tend to be people seeking lower housing costs rather than those attracted by local opportunities or amenities. Community life has diminished, though not as dramatically as in some other declining towns. Many community organizations continue to operate, but with reduced membership and activity level. Social venues like pubs and clubs have closed or reduced their operations, limiting opportunities for community interaction. Local businesses report challenging conditions. While the situation isn't as dire as in some other towns, business owners describe declining customer footfall, reduced spending, and increased competition from online retailers and larger centers nearby. Many businesses are simply maintaining operations rather than actively grow. The council's capacity to address challenges is limited by budget constraints and competing priorities. While there have been some attempts at regeneration and improvement projects, these have generally been small-scale and haven't addressed the fundamental economic and demographic pressures facing the town. Perhaps most concerning is the lack of a clear strategy or vision for Burntwood's future. The town seems to be drifting rather than actively working to address its challenges or capitalize on its potential advantages. Town 7, Rugeley. Rugeley completes our list of at-risk towns, and in many ways, it represents the most complex case. Unlike some smaller communities that were always vulnerable to economic changes, Rugeley was once a significant town with substantial employment, good facilities, and a strong identity. Its current struggles are particularly concerning because they show how even relatively large and established communities can face existential challenges. The transformation of Rugeley's town centre has been dramatic and largely negative. What was once a bustling commercial district with a wide variety of shops, restaurants and services has become a struggling collection of discount stores, charity shops and empty units. The closure of major anchor stores has had a cascading effect, reducing foot traffic and making it increasingly difficult for remaining businesses to survive. Employment opportunities have been devastated by the closure of Rugeley Power Station, which was once the area's largest employer. The power station closure in 2016 eliminated hundreds of direct jobs and thousands of indirect positions in supporting businesses and services. While there have been efforts to develop alternative uses for the site, progress has been slow and hasn't replaced the economic activity that was lost. The demographic impact of economic decline has been significant. Rugeley has seen substantial outmigration, particularly among younger residents and families. The town's population has shrunk, and the remaining residents are increasingly older and less economically active. This creates a negative cycle where reduced economic activity leads to further service cuts and business closures. Local businesses face extremely challenging conditions. With reduced local spending power, increased competition from online retailers, and easy access to shopping centers in larger nearby towns, many struggle to remain viable. The closure of major employers has eliminated much of the daytime foot traffic that many businesses relied upon. The council has made various attempts to address the town's challenges, including regeneration projects and efforts to attract new businesses. However, these initiatives have had limited success, partly because Rugeley is competing with many other locations for investment and residence, and its recent trajectory doesn't inspire confidence among potential investors. Perhaps most troubling is the psychological impact on residents and the broader perception of Rugeley's future. Many people who live in or have connections to the town express pessimism about its prospect. This negative sentiment becomes self-reinforcing as it discourages investment, business development, and population growth. Now, before this gets too depressing, here's where the story takes an interesting turn. Not every town around Birmingham is facing decline. While 7 communities are struggling with serious challenges, 2 others have found ways not just to survive, but actually to thrive. The difference between these success stories and the struggling towns reveals important lessons about what makes communities resilient in changing economic times. 8. Lichfield. Lichfield stands out as a remarkable success story among towns near Birmingham, and its achievements are particularly impressive because they've been sustained over many years rather than representing a temporary upturn. While other communities struggle with declining high streets and shrinking populations, Lichfield continues to attract residents, businesses, and visitors. The town centre in Lichfield presents a striking contrast to the struggling communities we've discussed. The high street maintains a vibrant mix of independent shops, restaurants, and services alongside well-known chains. Vacancy rates are low, and new businesses continue to open regularly. The weekly markets draw visitors from across the region, creating economic activity that supports local businesses throughout the week. What makes Lichfield particularly successful is its combination of historical character and modern amenity. The magnificent cathedral and well-preserved historic buildings give the town a unique identity and attract tourists throughout the year. However, Lichfield hasn't simply relied on its historical assets. It has successfully integrated modern businesses, services, and facilities that meet contemporary needs. Educational facilities are a particular strength. Lichfield schools consistently perform well and are able to attract and retain quality staff. The town also benefits from being close to good secondary schools and higher education facilities, making it attractive to families with children of all ages. What's perhaps most impressive about Lichfield is its active and engaged community. The town supports numerous community organizations, cultural activities, and regular events that bring residents together and attract visitors. This social vitality contributes to the town's attractiveness and helps maintain property values and business activity. Local businesses in Lichfield report generally positive conditions. While they face the same challenges as businesses everywhere, online competition, changing consumer habits, economic pressures, they benefit from steady footfall, a mix of local customers and visitors, and a generally prosperous customer base. The town council and local organizations have been proactive in maintaining and enhancing Lichfield's advantages. Planning decisions generally support the town's character, while allowing for appropriate development. Marketing and promotion efforts help maintain Lichfield's profile as an attractive place to live and visit. Lichfield's success demonstrates that it's possible for towns near Birmingham to thrive, but it also shows the importance of unique assets, strategic advantages, and consistent effort in maintaining community vitality. 9. Sutton Coldfield. Sutton Coldfield represents a different model of success compared to Lichfield, but it's equally impressive in its ability to maintain and enhance its position while other nearby towns struggle. Technically part of Birmingham since the 1970s, Sutton Coldfield has maintained its distinct identity and character, while benefiting from its connections to the larger city. The retail environment in Sutton Coldfield demonstrates remarkable resilience compared to other town centres. The Grace Church Shopping Centre and surrounding High Street maintain good occupancy rates with a mix of national retailers and independent businesses. The town has successfully adapted to changing retail patterns while maintaining a viable commercial centre that serves both local residents and visitors from surrounding areas. What makes Sutton Coldfield particularly successful is its positioning as an upmarket residential area that combines suburban amenities with easy access to Birmingham city centre. The town has consistently attracted affluent residents who support local businesses and contribute to community life, while also benefiting from Birmingham's employment and cultural opportunities. Employment opportunities in Sutton Coldfield itself are substantial, with the town centre supporting significant retail and service employment. Additionally, many residents work in Birmingham but choose to live in Sutton Coldfield for its superior residential environment. This combination creates economic activity during both daytime and evening hours. What makes Sutton Coldfield's success particularly noteworthy is its ability to maintain its advantages over many years while adapting to changing circumstances. The town has successfully navigated changes in retail patterns, housing demand, and transportation needs, while preserving the characteristics that make it attractive to residents. The town's governance and planning decisions have generally supported long-term success. Development has been managed to preserve character while allowing for growth and modernization. Investment in infrastructure and services has been maintained, supporting the area's continued competitiveness. Perhaps most importantly, Sutton Coldfield demonstrates that proximity to Birmingham can be an advantage rather than a threat if managed correctly. Rather than being overshadowed by the larger city, Sutton Coldfield has positioned itself as a premium residential location that offers the best of both urban connectivity and suburban quality of life. The story of these 9 towns around Birmingham reveals harsh truths about how economic change affects communities. 7 places that were once stable, thriving communities now face uncertain future. Their high streets are emptying, their young people are leaving, and their sense of optimism about the future is fading. But the 2 success stories, Lichfield and Sutton Coldfield, prove that decline isn't inevitable. Communities can thrive even in challenging times if they have the right combination of assets, strategies, and leadership. The key is understanding what makes places successful and working consistently to build and maintain those advantages. The divide between winners and losers is likely to grow wider over the coming years. By 2030, some of these struggling towns may be barely recognizable, while the successful ones will probably be even more prosperous and attractive. For anyone living in or connected to these communities, the message is clear. The future isn't predetermined, but it won't happen by accident either. Communities that want to succeed need to understand what drives success in the modern economy and work actively to position themselves for the future they want to achieve. The question now is whether the struggling towns can find ways to reverse their decline before it becomes irreversible, and whether the successful ones can maintain their advantages as competition for residents and investment continues to intensify. What do you think? Which of these towns will still be thriving in 2030, and which ones might not survive in any recognizable form?